Welcome back to the Sin and Twin podcast. It's your girl Sin, and I'm here with my twin,
Jay, aka Harbinard. What up?
Today's guest, we've got.
I don't send you some curse.
Why don't you tell us a bit about your business? We have this thing, like I despise Jay.
I'm just here for comedic relief. I don't know why she's allowed.
This is me, guys. I want to rewind a little bit.
You are now listening to the Sin and Twin podcast.
Welcome back to the Sin and Twin podcast. It's your girl Sin, and I'm here with my twin.
Yo, it's Jay, aka Harbinard. What up?
We're here at Studio Woe, and we are joined today by the band Leave It Behind, straight out of Highland, New York. Hardest working punk rock band. So welcome, guys. We are so happy to have you guys here. And I am so excited for this.
Thank you.
Welcome. So first, before we get into anything, I want to start with where everybody can find you, where they can find your music. They have an EP out right now, Time Flies. So where can they find your music? Where can they find you guys? Social media, all that good stuff.
We're on Instagram, definitely. We have a YouTube channel. We're on Spotify, and I think all the streaming platforms, or most of them.
I
And
think
it's
it's
all-
official Leave It Behind, right? Is the
Is
tag.
the tag for Instagram, yeah.
Okay.
Official
Cool.
Leave It Behind, New York, NY, I meant, yeah.
Gotta throw the
So-
NY in there.
Yeah, throw the NY.
Let them know. You know,
Yeah.
we gotta represent.
So, yeah, streaming it on all the, platforms, and
Yeah.
we're out there.
I was listening to Time Flies, and I got to tell you, I was having the time of my life listening to it. It's so good. It's so good.
That's
I also
cool.
feel like
Thank
I don't hear a lot of it these days. Like,
you. Not a whole lot like in that form of punk rock anyway,
yeah,
I
and
mean,
it's
out,
refreshing.
there's bands, but
Yeah, you gotta
Not a
like
whole
follow
lot.
the scene.
yeah, they're
to
out
know
there,
what's
but definitely not too many. So
not like it used to be.
But
There
thank
used to
you.
be a lot of
appreciate
the
you
scene was
listening.
much bigger.
Yeah. So, do you guys have any shows coming up? I mean, you guys are busy.
We
You
stay
guys have
pretty busy,
shows
I
often.
feel like, yeah, we do pretty good. Next one we have is June 6th at the Kingsland in Brooklyn.
Nice.
Which
Okay.
I will be in the building for.
Yeah.
Okay.
Two bands coming up from Florida. Be playing with them. So
Awesome.
Come
How'd
on
you get
out.
that? Do you have a history with those two bands, or?
no, I just emailed that this. You ever heard of Music Dies Here? It's they're on Instagram. I think they they
promoter.
promote their
Nice.
promoter type. And I just emailed them, and then they hit me up a little while later and asked see if we could play this show. So
Okay.
said, yeah.
So let's start
that
off with
one.
this. Let's meet everybody individually. So we have Mike. Mike, what is your role in the band?
I play guitar and lead vocal.
Okay.
So
All right, Chris. What do we get from you?
I play drums. I'm the drummer.
Nice. How
Catch
about
me
you, Ralph?
sitting down.
Word.
And my name's Ralph. Play bass, sing, that stuff. General shenanigans.
Hell yeah.
There's always got to be shenanigans.
definitely.
Of course.
So, Mike, why don't you tell me a little bit about how this band formed and how the three of you came together?
Well, it was I don't know, probably like around 2017. I was really starting to get, want to start this band.
Mm-hmm.
So throwing names around and whatnot, and Leave It Behind kind of came out, and I like that sound of that. So,
Is there a story there with Leave It Behind?
Well, yeah, kind of when I ended up sticking with it, I was like, Leave It Behind is like whatever, it might be different for everybody, but
Sure.
whatever's like, keeping you from doing what you want to do, fucking you up, or leaving, something you need to leave behind,
Yeah.
I love
to move
that.
Yeah, I
forward.
love that
So
too. I didn't know that.
That's
Yeah.
That's awesome.
that's what it's about, yeah. So
That's a great message behind the name of the band for sure.
100%. And that's
Cool.
that fits really well with the podcast too, right? Because we talk about that a lot. Like, get out of your own way and just do
Yeah,
it.
exactly,
Just go
yeah.
for it. You love it. Do it.
definitely. So that's really what the name means,
Yeah.
Leaving behind whatever's keep, fucking dragging you down, whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
of
man.
course.
So
So how'd you find these guys?
it was a little bit of a run, of trying to find members and whatnot. A couple of drummers here and there. I had, I think, at least 2 or 3 I was trying with. That didn't last too long because, either it works or it doesn't. Either
Yeah,
they're not
100%.
into that kind of music as
It's the
much
hardest
or this
part
or
about
that.
being in a band.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's finding people that want
That
to
click.
click and like that kind of same kind of stuff and all that, and that can play the stuff well also.
Yeah.
So and then I ended up making some flyers. I was like, I gotta try something. Did band mix, all this stuff, trying to find people. Put some flyers out, Alto Music, record shops, different places, New Paltz, Beacon, Poughkeepsie, all around. And they were out for a good while. And then so fucking like 1 week I got a text from Chris right here. And I got a text from another Chris who played bass. So it was like in the same week, this drummer and bass player hit me up.
There you go.
I'm like, what the fuck? So first I met Chris because, I want to do drums if you don't have drums, really, you got nothing anyway. So I hit him up, and yeah.
I had moved to Beacon at that point, and I was just at Alto. I saw the flyer, and it was like, punk rock band forming, needs a drummer. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna call these kids. It's either gonna be like 16-year-olds who like want to do like a Blink type thing, or it's gonna be like cool people. So Mike and I linked up, and we chilled, and we got along. We listened to a lot of the same bands, and started playing pretty much maybe a month after that, and been doing it pretty much every week since. So
awesome.
Yeah,
So you guys
it's been fun.
been putting in a lot of work. We put in, like I said, obviously the other Chris bass player didn't work out too well. So me and Chris kind of just getting familiar and tightened up a little bit. Then I realized at the time I was living in Mayapack, practicing in Highland and stuff with Chris, meeting up, driving back to Mayapack. Before the Flyers, I'm working with this guy, talking to him, I'm trying to start this band. He's like, why don't you hit up this kid, Tom, who I did go to school with. We weren't really friends, but I knew him enough. He's like, yeah, he plays drums, whatever. So I said, all right, I'll hit him up, I hit him up, I go over there. At the time, Ralph is living there, renting from him.
Okay.
And, he was, at first it was kind of just me and Tom fucking around. Pretty quickly he was like, oh, ask Ralph if he wants to play bass. Because Ralph plays every instrument,
Everything.
that. But, so that's how I met Ralph. Met Ralph first, yes.
Awesome.
Skip that part.
That was
that was 2018, somewhere in there.
It was a while ago now.
Yeah. So, we did. It was, I don't know how long it was, 6-8 months or whatever. It was a good run we had. We're practicing. Played once at Dark Side Records. But no offense to our buddy there, but ended up not really working out. Not because of
Just it didn't.
Yeah, it wasn't clicking
Yeah.
with the all three of us the right way. So for whatever reason, it faded out. No hard feelings anywhere, And then so 18, it wasn't until about 2020 where I met Chris. So it was a good 2 years there where I wasn't really doing too much. Did a cover band, still trying to, in the back of my mind, putting this together.
Put something together. It takes a long time.
End up meeting Chris through the flyer. That was at Alto for like a year. I don't even know. I was there for a long time before he ever seen me. So luckily it was still there.
Don't give up, people.
And then
Don't
For
give up.
real.
got hit by Chris, and then he's in Highland. I'm living out there. I realized Ralph's in Highland. I'm like, wait a minute. I gotta see if Ralph wants to play bass with us. Yeah, hit him up, and then we formed there. So
Awesome.
I
Here
love
we
how
are.
I just love how that all came together, right? Because like Chris said, it could have been 16-year-olds looking for, bandmates or
Yeah.
looking for a drummer or whatever the
you
case
don't know
may
what
be.
it's gonna be. Yeah.
Right. And it's also that doesn't happen that way anymore.
Yeah. Not
It doesn't.
often.
Like we're not finding. I'm saying we as if I'm in a band or something, but we are not finding bandmates through flyers.
Yeah, most of
and
it's
then-
online.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
online, or you're trying to make it work with people or mutual friends or something like that.
Yeah.
And with Jay's band, he got lucky that people that he grew up with, they were able to come together and everything.
Yeah.
The way that you guys came together differently, you didn't even know each other, and
No.
it's working. That is so interesting to me.
That's cool.
It's
Yeah,
rare.
it is rare.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
It is, yeah.
And that's how I met my other band too. Like, it's funny you were just saying not on flyers. I met them online. They were, my singer was looking for a bass player. He posted online, and he posted a song, and I listened to it. And I was like, oh, this is really good, you know? So I reached out to him, and, you know, but by the next day he was like, all right, like, come to practice. And, you know, and that band was sort of the same thing, where it was like a bunch of different people that just came together, and same thing. Like, we have a really good vibe, and you guys know when you vibe with somebody, especially like musically, the chemistry and everything. And it's like, you don't want to let that go once you have it, you know? So you guys are definitely lucky to have that bond. 'Cause I know what that feels like.
So what year was it that you guys all came together then? 2020, you said?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Did you know, not to put you on the spot, but did you know immediately that this was good, this was the formula, and you had the band?
Yeah, pretty sure. Yeah, like I said, once I met Chris, I knew, obviously I met Ralph first. We gelled well together.
Mm-hmm.
It was our drummer that kind of wasn't, getting
Into
locked
it
in with us and
Right.
or into it enough.
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
a metal guy trying to play punk drums.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Didn't
So
really transfer as well.
I give him,
It's just a different style.
it wasn't,
and it all
so
kind of like came together with us, and
definitely.
then we had a different guitarist. And
Yes.
and Josh.
Yeah.
But sometimes things don't always work out, and
Sure.
after he left, we turned into the three-piece, and it just felt better and correct. And
Yeah.
every show since then, people will, that saw the previous four-piece, they'll be like, "You guys need to just keep it."
Yeah,
at
you guys
the
sound tighter,
three-piece."
or yeah,
Right.
And
the power trio.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes, exactly. And there's not a lot of those,
Yeah,
but actually, a couple of our homies' bands are also power
Yeah.
trios.
It
That,
works,
Yeah.
yeah, it works well.
So
Less
it-
is definitely
it
more
works out,
sometimes.
yeah.
Yeah. Less is
Yeah.
definitely
It's
more
nice,
sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it. Shout out to Josh.
Incredible
Good
guitar
homie
player.
of mine.
Yes,
Awesome guitar
yes.
player, musician.
yeah.
For whatever, a few different reasons he had to depart, and then at first I was like, just thinking like, just like automatically I hit this other kid up to play a second guitar, and he came over once with us and jammed, and I don't even think he was feeling it. We weren't. And then after that, we were like just three-piece.
Let's
Then we
just do it.
realized
Yeah.
it was just better anyway. It sounded better. It was tighter,
Mm-hmm.
and that was it. We wasn't even looking for anybody else. So
Yeah, I think really the three-piece let us grow as a band too in ways because, like Mike started doing a little bit more lead stuff that he was doing a lot more rhythm before that. Ralph was, able to build in a lot more harmonies and stuff over time. So I think that was really cool. And the three of us had gotten really tight, like Ralph and I's the rhythm section and like with Mike's rhythm stuff as well. So it just it kind of felt like we were moving forward more quickly in that way. So it was definitely cool to hear it both ways. And I had heard Mike's songs before that, and that was for me like one of the reasons I really wanted to join the band because I really I love the songs. And
Yeah.
it's not that easy to find folks that are into more like aggressive music that we play. It's like I'm not saying like punk is completely underground or anything.
It's niche, though.
Yeah, it is, and it's not for everybody.
no,
And
You
it
gotta have a
does
certain ear
take
for
like
it.
a certain passion for the scene and the community and the bands and respect for the bands that came before. So there's a lineage to it in a way, and like it can be like, okay, people say it's a little bit formulaic, it can be, but the energy is there, and if you're not living the energy, you're not like putting that out, then you're not not really a punk band to me. And like punk's not a sound, but it's a feel, and it's a way of being in a community. And I feel like we got all of that in our band, the three of us as people, and we do really love playing shows with our friends' bands and seeing scenes grow, and that's part has been awesome. We did start in the middle of the pandemic, we didn't know when or if we were going to play a show.
Yeah.
So, but we
That'll make or
still,
break a band for sure.
we were grinding it out every week, regardless. Like knowing that when this, things are normal or whatever, we're gonna like get on this, and it was like something great to look forward to, and there was nothing else to do. Like you couldn't go out except to like the supermarket, but we would still get together once a week, and that's like a good release, because otherwise you're like, what the fuck, man? Like,
Yeah. Do you guys feel like the pandemic allowed you to really hone in on your craft?
I suppose I would imagine we would have, honed it in before we really ventured out to shows anyway.
Sure.
Maybe we would have played some earlier, probably, but I think we would have, got that tight before we played
Right.
anyway, I would
Right.
think.
So much time to actually practice and like write and add things and see
Right.
which way we were trying to go with them. And I mean,
And take your
having-
time on them.
yeah,
Because you had the time.
yeah.
And that way, yeah.
Yeah, there was like more time to be had to practice, to write, to think about them as like a whole composite, piece instead of just like songs and like just banging them out quick,
Yeah.
trying to actually put a little extra care into them. And yeah, I mean, I had so much time to play guitar again because I was like stopped playing like acoustic and things like that for it's a little bit 'cause my hands were like getting stale, so it was nice to like really take the time again. I was like, oh, I need to like relearn how to play some of these things that I used to play all the time. So it really was a great thing for me to like have because I would just play songs after song after song, just trying
Sure.
to get it back into it, and
Yeah,
then
man. Almost falling in love with that, just like going back to just like practicing
all
all the
over
time.
You gotta
again.
do that, yeah.
Like I'm sure like you guys probably feel the same. When I was a kid and I first started playing guitar, I could play for 4 hours straight. Like when I was a kid, like all I did was
easily.
play guitar. Like when me and my friends hung out and like we sat in a room talking like we're doing right now, you have your electric guitar because it's not that loud. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I would just I
I
used to
couldn't
drive
have a
her crazy.
conversation
Yeah,
with
like-
Jay. I couldn't have a conversation with him. We would literally be talking about something, obviously we went to school together. We'd be talking about something that happened in school, or I'd be whatever I was trying to talk to him about, he's laying there playing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, can I get a second with that? My life it had a soundtrack.
Yeah,
That's the best way to put it. My life had a soundtrack played by Jay.
Awesome.
And it was my shitty playing when I was 14.
Hey, no, there's always been a music, I think, in all of our lives,
Yeah, and I don't think I
always-
appreciated it enough too,
Gotcha.
right? Because I'm not a musician, right? And sometimes it was just he also like it wasn't like he was lightly playing or anything like that. Like he's jamming out while I'm talking to him, right?
Yeah.
So at the time it was like I can't even think straight because all I hear is your music, But thankfully, he always embedded everything he was interested in into me, and he
cool.
would explain to me why it was good. He would explain, like, he would taught me all the bands, all of
Yeah.
that stuff.
They used to
So,
like Quizzer.
no,
Like, who is this?
no, honestly, it was,
Should be like
and he was aggressive with it.
Mudvayne,
We saw him practicing and what it takes
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
learn an instrument or
Absolutely.
do things like that.
Yeah.
Takes work,
Yeah, and she's
For
always
sure.
come
Got
out to
that from
support the shows and stuff, so she
cool.
knows the grind and how much goes into it,
Yeah.
and the shows, the recording, the traveling and stuff.
a lot of hours.
Yeah, a lot of hours,
A lot
right?
of hours.
I mean, you have to truly love what you do. You
definitely.
have to truly love what you do because if not, you can't keep doing it. Like, there's no way the time. Like, sometimes I look at him and I'm like, how are you okay? Because there's also as much love and passion. There's also a ton of frustration, a ton of like,
Yeah.
you get to that point where you're like, why am I doing this? But it's
Yeah.
short lived because you love it so much, right? And I find that especially with musicians, you can't be a musician without all of that. You know what I mean?
Well-
It won't last.
Yeah, I just want to interject and say, like, and you guys give off that vibe, like Chris was talking
100%.
about feeling and punk. It's like when you guys play, like, you can tell that you guys really enjoy playing together and each other's company. Like these guys came out and opened for my band Hamilton Fish. What was that, in like 2021 or something in Brooklyn?
Yeah.
It was a couple of
pretty
years
early.
ago.
Yeah.
Pretty early in their lineup.
Yeah.
Before they were a 3-piece actually, and
Yeah.
you guys always give off that vibe when you perform, and like you guys were saying, playing with your friends' bands and stuff is always so fun because it's like everybody's there for the same reason because they love music or they love punk rock, and
Yeah.
you guys definitely go out there and kill it, and I always enjoy watching your guys set. So
thank you for that.
I'll be there.
Old heads all the time. They
Yeah.
say that punk rock ain't got no retirement plan. There's no 401k in
Yeah.
that. So
yeah. If you don't
Love
love
that.
it,
if you're not having fun and you're not like living it with your whole heart, like just stop doing it, man. Like
Yep.
there's a
you go.
lot of bands out there. You're just like, do you even like the music you're playing? Like,
Yep.
so
Right.
it's
It's
like
true.
that
Right.
passion. Like if a band doesn't have that, I don't care again. Like what it sounds like. If it sounds like I'm stoked on the new Kylie Minogue record, but it's gonna be like super passionate, like I know that much.
Yeah.
Unlike other things I've heard, so like it's that's what it's about. Bring that all the time as hard as you can.
yeah.
Right.
sure.
And just again, like from an outsider's perspective, and because that's what I bring to this table right now.
Yeah.
Again, not a musician, not typically, no, I am into this genre of music. I'm just not well versed in it or educated in it. Just whatever Jay forced on me. But from my perspective, I enjoy watching a band when I can tell they're enjoying what they're doing, just like he said.
Yes.
You
Yeah,
feel
definitely.
it. You feel it just like when you're standing there. I've brought so many people with me to Jay's shows or other bands' shows that are not into that music. And I'm like, no, trust me, you're going to love it. Like,
Yeah.
you don't have to love the music to sit there and love watching somebody do it. And he's so right. You know, I haven't gotten to see you guys live, right? I wasn't at that Brooklyn
I
show.
don't think you were.
I haven't gotten to see you guys live, but I was watching, your YouTube videos and like it's even palpable just watching the videos,
No, I
Like,
appreciate that.
The whole like thing about like the whole punk like scene and like punk music to like it's like not sustainable. So it's always chaotic. You don't know. It's
Yeah.
DI. That's why driven, community driven. So all of that is like is super crucial. And like going to see your buddies' bands is like super important. So like we don't even play shows all times, but we're going to our buddies' bands constantly,
sure.
just trying to show that
Yeah.
keeping this steam growing and alive.
And
Because
I feel the
it's-
same way
it's a
for you
passion,
guys. When you guys played at Rubalad, I was able to make it
You
out.
were there, yeah.
And
Thank you.
yeah,
Such a
I'm out there,
wild
so it's
show.
like, yeah, I know you guys are coming to Kingsland June 6th, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So June 6th, come out, be there. I'll be in the
Yeah.
building too. We'll smoke some blunts.
Yes.
But so like, I'll be there, and I always think the same way, especially if it's like, my friends and stuff that are playing, I always try to make it out and support.
Yeah.
It's so important for the scene and the bands, and
It is.
I feel like even especially like growing up in the Hudson Valley, like there used to be a really big like band scene,
Yeah.
and not just punk or hardcore metal or alternative rock. Like there was so many shows,
was
growing up in
more,
Poughkeepsie.
yeah.
You guys
Nonstop.
remember, so it's
Yeah.
like, we gotta like keep that alive, especially here in the Hudson Valley. And
That's what I wanted to. I seen some bands like before the band started. I'd see certain bands like our homies RBNX, good
Shout
friends
out.
of ours.
Shout
Shout
out.
out to
Shout
RBNX.
out. I did see them
like,
too with you guys.
I'm like, I wanted to start a band and kind of get if there wasn't the scene already, we was fucking start one, And I could see there was some bands in the area doing some things and that. So I'd go out to their shows and start bullshitting with them. That's how I met Mike. So, but yeah, starting those relationships they're awesome. I'm glad we
Yeah, man.
made friends with a few different bands that we help each other get shows, this and that. So yeah, it's awesome.
So speaking to that band scene that there was like when we were growing up and you were getting into the music scene, do we feel like that has dwindled significantly? Is it still there and I'm just out of touch with it? Like,
It's just not in the same
gotta
place.
say, like,
It's changed.
yeah, and
Hudson
that's
Valley hardcore is popping off.
Yeah, I mean, there's
Yeah.
definitely a lot of
National,
music
Yeah.
like Mind Force, Age of
yeah,
Apocalypse, those kind of bands,
like
like
that stuff.
massive, and they're incredible bands. Like I go to see them as often as possible, but they have like their own kind of scene, and our band not really part of that scene. Like we're maybe a little adjacent, but like mostly just because some of our friends have like shared members with some of those bands or whatever. But
right.
there's almost like little micro scenes now in a way. Like there is this huge like Hudson Valley hardcore scene, and like you'll see pretty big metal scene too. Like you see a lot of metal kids around Poughkeepsie and everything. And like but you also have like up in Kingston, there's like that tubby scene, so you have like a little bit more like indie alternative.
Sure.
And then you know, in Snugs, New Paltz, there's like a lot of younger bands. You know, shout out to Three Skin, shout out to Overturn, Orama. You know, so there's like
that
a lot
set
of young bands a bit younger than us that are coming up that are definitely keeping the scene alive, and like a lot of DIY spaces pop up here and there. But they do shut down. Like we lost a venue last week in New Paltz, and you know,
Bathhouse, rest in peace.
yeah. So like, you know, it is like that. So it's this constant like, where's the next place? Where can we do a show? Like where, you know, because some shows are too big to even have like, you know, at the Chance or the Loft, and the way that that venue is set up, which is, you know, all time classic space, but
Sure.
you know, it's got a limit. So shows can't, like the big shows there will sell out pretty quick because you know, everybody wants to see these bands, but the space is only going to take what it takes, you know. So I think it's like any DIY scene, it's that constant like, all right, we got to find a new place.
Scrambling
and,
a bit.
Yeah,
so-
it's constantly it's like a constant flow of where it's going to go next, who can have a show, what spot will let us play because of like the style of music and the scene, and like people are uneasy, so it's a big DI has it's a wide space for growing, you know, here in locally. It's all backyard venues, basement shows.
Yeah, man.
It's still happening, but you got to know people, and that makes the scene a little bit more like harder to get into. If you're
Yeah,
not,
a little
like,
more underground. Yeah, that's what I was
in
saying.
it.
It's like the scenes are there for sure. It's
There-
just,
yeah.
you
There's
just
still-
got to
there's
know
a
it. You
lot of
got to
people-
follow the right people. And
So we're saying there's a shortage of venues in the Hudson Valley. Are we thinking?
It's a little bit of like a lot of bands. There's a lot of different, you know, venues. It's just trying to figure out when everybody can kind of have a turn, and then also if we could all get together, we would be a more unified scene.
yeah,
And like that's like tough because like not everybody wants to hang out together. And, like,
yeah.
yeah,
So
makes
that
it,
that
you
sounds
know.
like that's changed a little bit
Yeah,
from
back in the day, like
Yeah.
I came up like going to shows since about like 1993 on Long Island is where I came up. So a lot of shows you go to, you'd have like punk bands, hardcore bands,
Sure.
emo bands, all in the same show. But now it seems like, you know, this is a hardcore show. You're gonna have hardcore bands, maybe one kind of like emo band, but really there's not like that gelling between punk and hardcore anymore. There's a really sick emerging scene of like kind of neo-oi bands, but they all kind of play together too. So I do think a lot of stuff is getting kind of micro scened, and you know, like that's okay because in a way the underground has grown. Like I mean, think about Turnstile, how much they're popping off. Like a lot, like hardcore and like that whole kind of world is pretty big right now. But I would say that like punk in a way is not really come up in that again. You know, there's the big bands like Rancid's got new stuff coming out, and it's gonna be ill. And you know, like some of the legacy bands are still doing their thing, and that's great. Like I got to see Descendants last year. Like I mean, that's awesome. But like the younger punk bands, a little bit harder to find. So you know, there's space for everybody, and
Sure.
we just want to hear people doing what they truly love. So you know, like if you love beatdown hardcore, like more power to you. But like if you love, you know, 90s Epitaph, Fat Rat, like I want to hear what you're doing too. Like I mean, there's room again for
Yeah.
everybody,
We're
and
up to
different
play
sounds, different
mixed-
time. Like
mixed shows,
you know.
yeah.
Doesn't matter to us.
Yeah, that's what I've always loved about, like, you know, and again, just watching Jay with his previous bands and everything, there was always that camaraderie that didn't matter what they were playing, you know.
Yeah,
what was going on.
like we spoke about that on a
Sure.
previous podcast where we were like, back in the day, we'd play like there'd be like a metal band, there'd be like a ska band and a hardcore band on a bill, you know.
Yeah,
But
we
like
don't see
everybody
that
would
too often,
stay
yeah.
for each. Like that's the other thing. Like people would stick around, and like you know
Yeah.
the moshers would skank and the skankers would mosh. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
yeah,
cool.
everybody was having a good
be like that.
time.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
now it, you know, seems like a lot of people will go see one band on a bill and
It's
then
true, right? And it
leave.
clears. Yeah,
And I'm
it's
just
crazy.
like, it kind of
Sometimes,
like
yeah.
kills the whole vibe and the whole point of the scene is
Yeah.
to bring people for everybody. And
Yeah.
like, we're all trying to go see the next band and the next meet. Like, it's always great having, you know, mixed bill shows because we get to see new people.
Yeah,
and they
exactly.
get to see what, you know, we bring or what our buddies' bands brings. And like, that's what like helps a lot. And I feel like a lot of people have like forgotten, like, stay the whole show. You paid to get in. You might as well like hang out. It gives everybody a good time,
and it's up to the bands, I think, too, to like work that to their fans, like, or tell that to their fans, like, stick around for these other bands. Like,
That's what I was just
we
thinking.
got these guys on this bill because we, like, if my band does a show and Leave It Behind's one of the opening bands, like, I'm selling also you guys to whoever's coming out to see me, because I want to share the stage with other good bands. And another thing too is, like, growing up for me, I found so many bands by going to shows, right? How many bands? I'm sure you guys, like, you went to go see,
Hundreds.
you went to
if
go
not
see,
thousands.
you went to go see No Effects, and then, like, there was 4 openers, and, like, the second opener, you were like, yo, this band's sick, and you went and listened to them, and, like, hardly anybody knew them, but also you didn't really know as much back then, because it was like,
hard to find
it was like, it wasn't like Spotify where you could see how many people are listening to you, or you know what I mean. Like, back then it was like you got the CD and you had that in your car. You're like, oh, I love this band. You know what I mean? You put people on to them. Like, I always had friends that loved to be like, yo, you got to hear this band. You know, they would always put me on to different things. Yeah, like it was different back then.
Yeah, like the whole trading physical media.
Oh yeah,
used to be such a important part of my youth, and now it's like buying CDs, and like now it's vinyl is like popping again, and that's like a whole interesting scene that came
the
back,
cassettes,
but it's like
which never
cassettes
left
are
with
popping.
punk.
people, the bands are selling cassettes again.
yeah.
I like it.
Wait, I didn't know that.
Really? I think it's
Yeah.
more of like a memorabilia.
Yeah, it's
type
like a
of thing.
gimmicky kind of thing, but also like it's not,
cool.
because people will still be like, "This sounds so much better." And
I'm not
to
gonna
some
lie.
to some people, it can. If that's what
Sure.
you would like to hear, like
Yeah.
it hits your ears just right again. You get that nostalgic tone.
If you don't have nostalgia for the Raekwon Purple tape, I don't know what to do for you.
For real. I was just about to say, so Jedi Mind Tricks, they did one of their albums, like a limited edition tape, and like I thought about like getting it, but I'm like, if I do, I gotta go get a tape player and pop
mine's
that
like
thing.
a
You know what I mean? Yeah, I have to.
I gotta
but
play that
I didn't
shit.
end up buying it because I knew then I'd be like, oh well, everybody who comes out with a cassette now, I need one. You know what I mean? I was
Next
like,
thing you know, you got the old Case Logic
exactly.
thing,
I don't
you
need
got
any. I don't
30
need any
tapes.
more collectibles, any more hobbies. I'm maxed out.
Oh yeah.
Yo, I'm not gonna lie. I was in Virginia about a month ago, and like I ran into a band I'd seen before, and I was like, "Yo, I tried to get your tape last time I saw you. You were out of them or whatever." And he's like, "Come back tomorrow. I'll have one here." I'm like, "All right." Like, and I drove out of my way to just buy a tape out of because I really down with this band.
Yeah.
So I don't know. For me, like that punk rock and hardcore world has always been like tied in with that. You support bands, you buy 7-inches, you buy records,
for
you buy
sure.
vinyl, you buy merch. And
Definitely buy
it's a
merch.
community.
Yeah. I try to buy merch
definitely buy merch.
from every
Oh,
band
yeah.
that we're playing with
Yeah.
usually,
Oh,
if
yeah.
I can.
Yeah, man, that's the
You know,
way.
yeah,
You
definitely
gotta
buy
support
our
each other.
friends'
Yeah,
bands
that's-
merch, or just even if we just met them or whatever,
I'm big on the merch.
I did want to ask you
same,
guys,
yeah.
maybe each of you guys can tell us some of your influences, and like, I know if you guys want to say like any type of influence, but also like at least one that you feel like is an influence for you, and specifically in this band and the type of music that you write.
Well, yeah, I got into music real early. A big fan of music. Parents always listen to music. Big fans. So and early on it was like, your classic rock, 80s rock, 80s metal,
Def Leppard.
Def Leppard, Guns N'
best.
Roses,
In my opinion, the
ACD,
best.
all that
It's
shit.
that whole
Hysteria,
era.
Motley Crue.
Untouchable.
Then it slowly came into the grunge came out, and I was liking that a little bit, and then I guess Green Day and Offspring came out. I'm dating myself, but then my older cousin Robbie, shout out to him, rest in peace also, and he was like, no, he showed me what punk rock was, Ramones, The Clash,
punk
and even
rock.
Bad Religion, NoFX, Rancid,
Yep.
all the shit, Agnostic Front. So, and then I just took it and ran from there. So I've been really a fan of punk since I was like 12, so.
Awesome.
And then it wasn't obviously till way later I finally started a band, but that's how I got into it.
What about you, Chris?
So for me, like, it's probably be like around, well, when I was really little, my dad was obsessed with things like the Beatles. So I remember like hearing Abbey Road and records like that,
So
like
good.
all the time when I was a kid. But by the time I could choose what I liked, I'd say like around 7 or 8. I was big into MTV. This had been around 1987, 1988. Into hair metal, got into Guns N' Roses and Poison and all that good stuff.
So good.
And then
Love
I
Ace.
had
So
an
good.
older cousin who's like, this stuff is so weak. You need to check this out. And he gave me Metallica, Anthrax, and Slayer. And I was like, yeah.
Yeah, there you
So I
go.
was like this little like 8-year-old Hessian with a mullet. I used to wear sweatpants every day. It was
1080.
so sick. In 1988, go to the Smith Haven Mall, get myself a Skid Row shirt. It was the illest.
That's
But
great.
yeah, probably by like, through Metallica, I would say I would have heard the Misfits. And once you hear the Misfits, there's pretty much no going back,
Mm-hmm.
I also really liked Kiss at one point in my life
Yeah.
and that kind of stuff. So that's pretty common, I feel like. But
Yeah,
once
my dad loved
once the
Kiss.
Misfits and like Ramones kind of grew from there, I was like pretty sold in the whole punk rock thing. I remember actually getting Nevermind and Metallica's Black Album on tape the same day. I've been like 1991, and that was pretty much like from there. Like I was only listening to, I pretty much put the metal aside, and I didn't go down the grunge path because after Nirvana, like pretty much the next thing I was like, okay, Fugazi, Black Flag, like that whole like world of like classic 80s punk, and got into Bad Brains. One of the first hardcore songs I ever actually heard was by The Stains, aka Millions of Dead Cops, who allegedly we're playing with pretty soon, which is pretty cool.
Wow.
Full circle
yeah.
type
That's
thing.
huge.
So yeah, from there, just like finding local shows on Long Island, there was a crazy scene of hardcore and punk, and for me, biggest influences for my style of playing would be Silent Majority. If you're from Long Island, you know. If you're not, you might not. But to me, greatest band, most influential band in my life ever, and got to see them do a reunion not long ago. I think we all like Iron Chic, newer Long Island band as well. So I do have like that Long Island style to my drumming that I bring into the thing. But I would say also for us, like me and Mike, especially bands like Dillinger 4, Propaganda, I think those were big influences, not only on like Mike's writing at the time, but also like on how we were kind of approaching putting together like the musicianship of it, and how we wanted the kind of production stuff to be like a little bit gritty, but still like super tight and all that. So I remember those were two bands that Mike and I bonded over pretty much like 2 seconds after talking. So
Yeah, that's what the band was formulated to kind of not just sound exactly like that, but definitely at its core at that just fast
Right up
skate
that
punk,
lane. Yep. Skate
melodic
punk.
hardcore,
Yep.
street punk, or all mixed into one kind of.
Love
Awesome.
that.
What about you, Ralph?
So I grew up loving like heavy metal, hair metal. My earliest music memory is me singing Cat Scratch Fever in front of a mirror, air guitaring. So like I had to be like 3 or 4 when that was going on.
Yep.
But like I was had a cool my mom dated this guy Tommy who had the illest collection of everything from AC/DC to ZZ Top, literally everything. Primus, Slayer,
Primus is
Metallica,
good.
like all this stuff. So I was like 4th grade listening to everything. I went through the whole gambit, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm into all of this. And then that was the year Korn was like popping off. So Korn's first album was like 94, 95. So it was right around that time, 95, 96.
Blonde.
So like Korn, and like then it was like Slipknot, that whole new metal scene. Then ICP. There was a terrible couple years where I was a juggalo.
Juggalo style.
Whoop whoop, I guess, or for if you're still into that crap. I did live it. I have a tattoo on me too, sadly. But then it like turned into like death metal, like technical metal, and like really heavy metal. Like after I would say like 2004 ish, right around there. It was also like Jimi Hendrix and psychedelic. So I started to learn all these bands' music. So I was just like a self-taught, deep dive. Mom dated this guy Jay later, who was also into music and guitar. So he had all these Zeppelin books. So it took him like months to learn Bronure. I picked up the book. I learned it in like a week, and he was pissed. And I was like, "Okay, this is my thing. I got this. I got this locked
He's like,
in."
"You little fucker."
So yeah, he was pissed. He just looked at me. He was like, "Sounds good." And I was like, "Oh, got you, Jay." But
That's awesome.
James a cool guy, so I can't hate him. But got me into all that, and then like I said, I was getting into like heavier shit. So modern punk is more my thing. But growing up, I had Bad Religion, Goldfinger, Blink-182. Like I was into all that stuff. Fugazi as well, but that was later because I didn't know about these bands because I only had what I knew I could get to. But then like heavy ass metal. I like breakdowns. I want breakdowns. I want
deathcore.
gurgles. I want
love a good
deathcore.
breakdown.
I love that shit, but I don't want to incorporate that into this because that's not the same crap at all.
Right.
But
Shout out to the.
yeah, I tried to get some in there. I have like a metal project that I'm kind of working on with a couple guys right now. That's
Sounded pretty sick. From
pretty
what I heard.
heavy.
Yeah,
But,
I think I remember. I think you were posting, right? You was like writing
yeah, it's
riffs
like
and stuff.
drop G sharp like type stuff, like insane. But
That sounded good.
modern punk is like I love like Pup or like bands like Jeff Rosen's stock right here. Long Island DIY band that like started out as like a ska band that grew and did everything, selling CDs by themselves, making T-shirts with spray paint, growing their own brand.
Yeah,
and then
real
now
DIY.
Yeah, so like that shit hits me
cool.
in the heart, and like bands like Pup, Idols, current like Iron Chic he mentioned, Mannequin Pussy is fucking dope. I've been on like a kick with them
Yeah,
the last
cool. Yeah.
couple days. I've been like, fuck, these fucking awesome band. But there's like a lot
Sin's
of
gonna go crazy on Spotify tonight. Let me tell you
Yeah.
guys.
there's a
You
lot
guys
of
send her a list of all your influences.
there's like a lot of great bands right now doing this. So it's like hard for me to like sit here and try to like
Yeah, you could say a
I
million
could
bands, yeah.
I go on all day.
And I know
Yeah,
and I
yeah,
know
you
that
know.
you're definitely into a lot of different styles of music. Me and Ralph met through hip hop like 10 years ago.
Mike, you had said that you're a big fan of Wu-Tang.
Yeah.
Ralph, I know you've got some hip hop
Oh,
background.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
we,
yeah.
we all love
Yeah.
hip hop.
All three of you,
And,
yeah. And
you know,
it's so funny because a lot of people,
all kinds of
again,
music.
because I, obviously my circle of people normally don't listen to this style of music or, whatever. So a lot of the common misconception is that that's it.
Yeah.
You're in a punk rock band, you don't listen to anything else or whatever the case may be. So do you think that being well-rounded musically makes you even better at what you do? Do you think there's some influence from the hip hop
I
into
think
what you do?
so.
I was gonna say-
definitely.
Bruce Lee says, be like water. So I think music is one of those things where you could just literally throw everything together. Personally, that's how I feel. I feel like music is one of those things where if you have an understanding of all these different aspects, it definitely helps you because then in your head, this should go here, but might not know why. But
Right.
because you've listened to enough, music of
Yeah.
different kinds and genres, it definitely helps you pick out a little bit of a flair to what you could add.
Sure. Absolutely.
No, definitely.
I'll add to
bring
that to
influence.
say, aside from Leave It Behind, I also do have this little DJ project where I DJ vinyl. I got a lot of vinyl in my house, but particularly what I'm
Not as
most
much as
interested in is rare soul, mostly from the '60s, what people might call northern soul. So I listen to a lot of that, and I've collected a lot of great stuff over the years. So that is actually an influence. There's like one of our songs that when I started playing, I added this almost like gospel part at the end, but it's like on the crash cymbal, and it just like gives like this extra power that I wouldn't have necessarily gotten from just listening to punk rock. So that stuff
Definitely, that's awesome.
is dope, and I also love, like, one of my greatest obsessions is like early 60s Jamaican ska and reggae, you know, like especially Desmond Decker and things out on Studio One, Trojan Records later
All
on
great
in the
stuff.
early 70s. But I love that. And, you know, all that music just helps you to hear different things that aren't, you know, there's so many sounds, and, you know, some of the greatest bands of all time, like The Clash are one of my all-time favorites and maybe my favorite band, period. And they got like tons of reggae and, you know, soul and like some experimental stuff too. So it's like, you know, definitely it will expand your mind and help you to be better all around, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, I enjoy a lot of different types of music, and being a musician, I think you automatically should be able to. You can appreciate any kind of thing. You know, if it's
for
good,
sure.
you know it's good, or you know, it's like
That was
and
me
I do
after
enjoy
like producing
different
records.
Yeah, hip hop, all types of music I enjoy and can appreciate probably any of it. You know.
Yeah. I gotta say, the more I talk to you guys, the more interesting
We
you
haven't
guys
even
become
started.
We haven't even
We could go
scratched
3
the
hours.
surface.
Nobody even talked to us about pro wrestling yet.
We haven't even got into wrestling.
So
We'll have to get into the rest.
We'll have to have a part
Yeah.
two.
You guys come back
Exactly.
And on the podcast.
yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. We're gonna have you guys back because I now have so many more questions, and I want to dive into everything that you just said. But stay tuned because they'll be back and we'll get into it. So I just want to say thank you guys for coming on. I appreciate it. I can't wait to see you guys live. I can't be there June 6th. It's my son's birthday, but I will definitely be at the next one after that.
Awesome.
And I'm
Happy
excited.
birthday.
Yeah,
No.
June
birthday.
6th.
June
Thank
6th.
you so much.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Thanks so much.
So again, thank
Thank
you
you
guys
for
so
having
much for
us.
coming on. This was an awesome interview, and I had a lot of fun with you guys.
You want to let
So-
them know where they can find you one more time before we go?
Yeah, Instagram official Leave It Behind NY, Spotify, Apple Music, all that, iTunes, YouTube. You know,
The EP's out.
it's
What's
out
the
there.
EP
Time
called?
The
flies.
time flies.
Go check it
So-
out. It's streaming right now. It's really good. We've been bumping it the past couple of days.
No,
and,
appreciate
Hell
that.
yeah.
really
Absolutely.
Thank you
enjoying
for
it.
having
And,
us.
Yeah, man. So we're gonna blow out of here on 3. We always just say peace. You guys ready?
He's
All
going
right,
to count
sounds
it
good.
up.
1, 2, 3.
Peace.
Peace.